What's up, guys? We're back with another NECA Turtles review, and we are kicking off one of my most anticipated lines for the entire year. We're also starting another line with some heavy RAPH favoritism too. We're taking a look at the TMNT Universal Monsters mashups from NECA, so RAPH gets the Frankenstein's monster treatment. So again, I'm incredibly excited about this because I loved the vintage figures. Obviously, this is not that exact same thing, but this mashup works really well. So I'm really looking forward to everything this line holds for us. He's an Ultimates figure, so he gets the sort of flap treatment too. So you've got a really cool shot of him there on the front. We've got his name running down one spine. You've got a few shots of some upcoming figures on the other spine, and then the back of the box has like a classic monster movie poster motif. So you've got a bunch of product shots for him and a bunch of call-outs and things like that. So really cool presentation on the box alone. But like I said, he's an Ultimate, so you get the flap. You've got a really good shot of him here on the inside, and then you've also got him there in the big window. If for some reason you didn't want to take him out, you can always look at this guy. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Frankenstein's monster, Raphael. Again, the newest iteration of anything Turtles combined with Universal Monsters. So we've had Monster Turtles for a long time. They were not unique to the vintage line. I mean, for me, that's where they hold, the most regard, as those original vintage mashups where things were a little bit different. This is not that line. It's the same idea, obviously, but this is NECA taking their own spin on it. So Raph was not Frankenstein's monster in the vintage line. He was a couple other things, but Mikey was Frankenstein's monster. So there are some change-ups here, but I'm really excited to see where this goes. And frankly, after getting this guy in hand, it's pretty evident that this is going to be a line with a lot of contenders for like some top 10 lists at the end of the year. We're already starting things off incredibly strong. So let's see what this guy can do, see how he moves around. He is a little bit different from pretty much every other turtle we've gotten because he's different from every other turtle we've gotten. He does have some limitations. He's not the most agile thing, but he's also supposed to be like a lumbering monster too, so it kind of evens out. But there are some limitations, no way around that. We've got a head that can look up really far. The neck is also articulated, so it's going to help. And then he can look down really nicely. We've got good tilt side to side. Of course, the neck is helping. And then you've got rotation up there. It's basically all the way around, but it does get really tight once you get like all the way. So it's probably not a bad issue there. Arms go out at the shoulders. They will rotate, of course. We've got double jointed elbows, but they really only go about 90 degrees because he's got the elbow pads. So the elbow pads are still prevalent on these figures, but they only go about 90. They do rotate at the top of that joint. You've got hinges and rotation at the wrist, normal stuff there. We've got a waist that kind of allows you to bobble back and forth. And then side to side's pretty good, but back and forth is a little bit. And then there is, like your twist is here. But this is where he's most locked down because like he really can't do a great deal. He's kind of like a brick as far as the torso goes, which probably isn't to be unexpected, but it is still a limitation on this figure for sure. So you can get him to go. I mean, you're probably not press him too far. You've got the shell underneath there. And of course this jacket. So there's a lot of stuff. I'm not really sure how he's constructed on the inside because it does have some give to it, but at the same time, he's only going to go so far. Your legs go out decently. It's the current style, not new anymore, current style, the ball and socket. So legs go out about that far. They kick forward, but only about that far. Again, some stuff getting in the way. Kick backwards slightly. You can twist up there. It's not a full thigh cut, but you can twist at that joint. We've got double jointed knees, but they're also, kind of limited, so they go back about this far. It's another instance of kind of his design just sort of getting in the way in many respects. But you also do have rotation up here at the top of the knee to aid in what is sort of a non-thigh cut, basically. And then down at the ankles, you've got hinges. They don't go forward too far, but they go backwards really nicely, and then you do have rocker. One thing that I've noticed with this guy, though, is that he does seem to be very back heavy. So you might need to play around with him to find that sweet spot because, again, he does have, he's got a lot of stuff hanging off of him, really. This shell, being the namely thing that's hanging off of him. But I do have some issues with balance at times. You just have to pay attention to him because he also has like these really big block feet. So there's not a lot that's normal about this guy. He still poses pretty well. Like, I don't really have too many issues with him, but there are some limitations. And basically a good way to say it is there's some non-standard turtle stuff from head to toe on this guy. But let's face it, it's all that quote-unquote non-standard turtle stuff that makes this guy so unique. It goes without saying that if you were a fan of the vintage line, if you collected it as a kid, these were some of those standout mashups for sure. I mean, they're some of my favorite variant turtles when it comes to the vintage line. Specifically, Mikey as Frankenstein was a really, really good figure. So this is, of course, Raph as Frankenstein. But the idea still works. A turtle Frankenstein's monster is pretty cool. And there's just so much stuff on this guy. So this is one of these instances where you've got NECA kind of firing on all cylinders, as far as I'm concerned. Every bit of this figure just has something popping on it. So, like this little gauge here that wraps around to the larger one on the shell, that wraps to the bolts on his neck. You've got this sort of, handle that allows the chains to be attached, basically like a big belt. And these are real chains, and they're connected very securely. Like, I don't feel like these are going anywhere, so I'm pretty happy with that. They've got a nice patina on them too. We've got a manhole cover or a chunk of it keeping the shell together. So stuff like that really stands out as like the weird stuff that sort of, no pun intended really, Frankenstein's this figure together, where he is like a weird mishmash of stuff. So you've got a suit-jacketed turtle with the shell peeking through. You've got a sort of a rivet bar there that's going to keep him together. All of the skin is sort of flayed and disgusting, so he's got a bunch of metal and braces and sutures and scars all over him. Tons of just sort of goops and nastiness when it comes to what little skin you can see, but it is very textured and very detailed. You've got like rips and stitches through the pants down here, and then of course the very like telltale Frankenstein bolts on the neck that go down and correspond to like bolts on the feet, as well as these huge like monster feet too. They're really big. They do kind of aid in his instability for me at times, but they do look very Frankenstein-y. I think of Herman Munster when I think of like these in particular, these big old chunky feet. But I think he looks tremendous. Like there is just so much detail, again, no pun intending, oozing out of this figure. Like from head to toe, it's just thing after thing after thing that's going to jump out and hit you. And of course, the sculpt is tremendous. The paintwork is top-notch. NECA's done a really solid job to just make sure that this guy is covered in detail. And I couldn't really be happier with the way he looks. Raph was not my first choice to get, a turtle right out the gate. I always want to see Leo first, and it like never happens. But I'm really happy with the fact that we've got this iteration of Raph, on the books for now. I think he looks tremendous, and NECA just did a bang-up job with him. And of course, one of the key things for this figure is going to be the head sculpt, and they did a great job. There is a really almost like angry but sad expression going on, a lot of like that snarl on the lips, but he's got kind of like sad eyes almost, which very much plays into the Frankenstein's monster aspect of this character and of this mashup. But there's just tons of like pock marks and warts. He's got the big stitches that go across his throat there. The mask, of course, is very prevalent, and it's quite obvious that this is a turtle, but it's been changed up to the nth degree. He's got the big flat top with a bunch of staples up there, a big scar splitting his skull, and then of course you've got your bandana. This does move. I forgot to mention that. So this rotates. It's a little bit of a pliable material, but it rotates, so that's kind of nice. It's not going to be able to be bent or anything like that. It's not a bendy thing, but it does have a little bit of give to it, so that's pretty cool. So, I mean, there's really no way that anybody could be unhappy with the way this guy looks unless you just don't like Frankenstein and turtles. This is a great mashup. It looks tremendous just from top to bottom. Now, we definitely have to do some size comparisons here because, again, non-standard turtle. So we've got our Super 7 Ultimates Raph here on the left, the Disguise Raph from NECA, of course, on the right, and our Franken Raph here in the middle. And you can see, I mean, this guy is absolutely huge. The Ultimates turtles are somewhat large for turtles, outside of maybe NECA's movie stuff. But this guy's huge. I mean, he towers over both of them quite a bit. Let's swap them out for another company's turtles because, everybody makes turtles these days, right? So here is a Hasbro turtle. Obviously, this is a very different kind of turtle, but there they are with the Power Rangers crossover Raphael, so the armored up version, and you can see he's quite a bit larger than him as well. Let's take Super 7s away and do a Marvel Legends. So here they are with the new Ben Reilly Spider-Man. You can see he's quite a bit larger than maybe what is going to be sort of a normal-ish 6-inch kind of figure. And then let's do a larger NECA figure. And, I could do something like Chrome Dome, but that's too big for these comparisons. So here he is with the cartoon Muckman. And you can see that that's a pretty good comparison. They're about the same size, roughly, in many respects, height and overall beefiness. So this is a really, really big turtle. Like, there's no way around it. It's a large figure, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing how big some of the other figures are in this line. This dude definitely has a lot of shelf presence just from size alone. And then as far as some accessories goes, he doesn't have a lot, but this is one of those instances where it probably doesn't matter. So we've got hands to talk about. So he's got like these sort of style posy kind of hands on him in the box. And then we get a couple extra sets as well. So you get a set of fists and you get a set of gripping hands. So these are of course going to be used to grip your size. I thought these would be able to work like, the sort of traditional sai through the fingers positioning for these hands, but I can't really get it to work. I'm not sure if it's supposed to. It feels like I'm going to snap them when I try it. So, buyer beware. If you do it and you break it, don't say I told you to do it, because it's probably not what you're supposed to do. I don't really think it's going to work that way. I think these are probably more like traditional, like Frankenstein monster, kind of like lunging at someone kind of hands, which do work very, very nicely in that regard. And then, of course, he does get his sai, and these are done up in a very Frankenstein manner, so they look like lightning bolts with like the lightning rods on them as well. These just look really cool. I mean, they're different, they're fun. They're done up in a great deal of very metallic silver with a little bit of patina on them too, so there's kind of like a bit of a rust thing going on as well, just to make them look a little bit old. So I think he looks great, and with a solid array of accessories, and then you've got a few sets of hands. Not a ton of stuff again, but really, it's pretty much everything I think I need as far as how I'm going to display this guy. So overall, this is a very, very good start to, again, a line that I'm really looking forward to for throughout the rest of this year. I can't wait to get my hands on Leo, but this guy is a great start. There is a lot going on with this figure, just from overall concept to all the detail that's in here. There's a great deal of paint on this guy. The sculpt is tremendous. I mean, he absolutely looks fantastic. There's no way around that. This is a really, really well designed and just created action figure. He does have some articulation hangups. He's a little bit limited in a few areas, and I do think he is a little bit back heavy, but overall still very, very happy and just excited to see where this line goes. This is definitely one to pick up if you're a Turtles fan for sure, especially if you've got some nostalgia for those original vintage mashups. So that's going to do it for this look at the NECA TMNT Universal Monsters Frankenstein Raphael. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.